The chipped mug warmed my hands, but the lukewarm tea did little to soothe the icy dread that had settled in my gut. It had been 3 months since the first flicker of suspicion arose, a gut feeling that solidified into chilling certainty with each passing day. Olivia, my Olivia, the woman who once vowed to love me until death parted us, was having an affair, and she believed she had gotten away with it. It started subtly. Late nights at the office, a manic energy replacing her usual quiet contentment. Then came the unfamiliar cologne clinging to her clothes, hurried phone calls taken in hushed tones, and the increasingly frequent excuses for not spending time together. My instincts, honed over years of marriage, screamed betrayal. I am not a detective, nor am I prone to jealous rages. I'm a history professor, a man who values reason and evidence above all else. So, I began my own quiet investigation. I wasn't looking for a dramatic confrontation. I wanted proof, hard facts to confirm the gnawing suspicion that had become my constant companion. Discreetly, I checked her phone bills, noting the unusually high number of calls to an unknown number. I monitored her online activity and discovered late-night chats on a social media platform I had never heard of. It was a slow, painstaking process, each piece of evidence adding another layer of pain to the fractured reality of my life. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place last week. I found a receipt tucked into her coat pocket, one from a secluded lakeside hotel, a place we had often talked about visiting together. The date on the receipt was 2 weeks ago, coinciding with one of her many supposed late nights at the office. That's when the plan formed. It was meticulously crafted, fueled by a potent mixture of hurt, anger, and a quiet, simmering desire for justice. For days, I gathered evidence, photos of text messages, screenshots of online conversations, and even copies of her emails. I wasn't just building a case against her. I was dismantling the very foundation of the life we had built together, a life she was so casually tearing apart. The man she was seeing, a lawyer named Daniel Blackwood, frequented the same upscale restaurants we once visited. His presence became a constant, bitter reminder of her deceit. The process of uncovering the truth was brutal, leaving me stripped bare, an exposed nerve raw with betrayal. The note I left in her purse wasn't about immediate revenge or anger. It was about dismantling her carefully constructed facade, exposing the illusion of control she thought she held. I carefully arranged a selection of the evidence I had collected: photos, screenshots, the hotel receipt. I included a simple, typed message: "I know." I slipped it into her purse on a Saturday evening and then waited across the street as she returned home. I watched as she opened the door, her usual brisk energy replaced with a tired slump. Then she saw the light left on in the living room. She went inside, and I waited, the cold night air biting into my skin, tension coiling in my chest like a spring wound too tight. After what felt like an eternity, the light went out. I watched as she appeared, her face pale and her eyes wide, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. The woman who had once seemed so confident and in control now appeared utterly broken. The carefully constructed facade, the lies, the deception, everything crumbled in front of me. It was the most complete collapse I had ever witnessed. She didn't flee, didn't shout, didn't try to defend herself. Instead, she collapsed onto the steps, clutching her purse to her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. In that moment, there was a strange satisfaction, not from vengeance, but from a sense of justice. I didn't approach her or taunt her. My revenge wasn't about causing her pain. It was about making her face the truth, confronting the consequences of her actions. It was about reclaiming my peace of mind, ensuring that she understood the weight of her betrayal, not through my anger, but through the stark reality of her actions. The following morning, I filed for divorce. It was a clean break, devoid of drama. There were no arguments or public spectacles. I simply presented the irrefutable evidence. The lawyer she had retained, Daniel Blackwood, didn't even attempt to contest it. Olivia offered no defense. Her silence was more damning than any angry accusation could have been. The process was swift and impersonal, a sharp contrast to the emotional chaos I had endured. The division of assets was fair. I didn't seek to hurt her financially. I just wanted my freedom, a fresh start to rebuild my life. The fallout from her affair, however, was inevitable. Her carefully cultivated reputation started to unravel. Whispers followed her social circle shrank, and she lost her job at the law firm. Friends, once close to both of us, distanced themselves when they learned the extent of her betrayal. This wasn't a calculated act of revenge on my part. It was simply the natural consequence of her choices. The world she had prioritized over our marriage began to fall apart. She reached out several times, but I didn't respond. I'd given her the space she wanted at first. Now, she had to face the wreckage she had created. I wasn't interested in reconciliation. The trust was shattered beyond repair, and the love had been poisoned. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding myself. I sought therapy to understand the trauma, to reflect on how I had missed the signs of her deceit. I reconnected with old friends, rediscovered forgotten hobbies, and found solace in the quiet rhythm of daily life. The pain still lingered, like a shadow that occasionally reminded me of what I had lost, but it no longer consumed me. It became a scar, one that marked a painful chapter in my life but didn't define me. I learned to forgive, not her. She had to earn that, but myself. I forgave myself for not seeing it sooner, for allowing myself to be vulnerable to such betrayal. In the process, I discovered strength and resilience I hadn't known I possessed. I moved on, not to forget, but to heal, to rebuild a life that was ultimately stronger and more authentic than the one I had lost. The memory of her collapse on those steps, the sight of her world crumbling around her, brought a painful yet final sense of closure. It wasn't the closure I had expected, but it was one I had earned. And in its own way, it was deeply satisfying.